Lovely, thank you very much, Simon. Right, so my name is Ali Middleton, and I am currently the Head of Education at Worcestershire Health and Care Trust. Previous to that, I was the Nursing Associate Clinical Lead for Herefordshire and Worcestershire, so the whole footprint. Working with all the different organisations that were there, and I did that from 2017 until very early this year. So my role with that was involved basically in the initial setup and conception of the Nursing Associate programme, how it was going to roll out across Herefordshire and Worcestershire, and then linking very much in with the rest of the West Midlands, so Birmingham, Wolverhampton, Black Country Partnership, a few other regions, Coventry and Warwick as well. So for the last 3 years, I've been really, really heavily involved with Nursing Associate stuff, and I have had lots of as much experience, I suppose, as you can get with Nursing Associates, right through from selecting the very first programme, helping them through the programme and then getting them registered onto the NMC, then working with apprentices when the programme changed slightly. It's changed 3 times over the last 3 years because it's been in a pilot phase. So I'm really pleased that the opportunity has come up to work with West Midlands Care Association with regards to expanding Nursing Associate into social care, into other sectors where we haven't been as prolific at getting it up and going. So what I'm going to talk to you today about, I know a couple of weeks ago you spoke to Debbie from West Midlands Care Association, and she will have given you an overview of the Nursing Associate role, what was involved, and a few sort of headline pieces. And from that, hopefully the people who are either with us today or are watching this as a recording afterwards, are those people who thought, oh, that's piqued my interest and I want to take this a little bit further. I know you will have been sent application forms and you will have filled those in and returned them, and that will have given Debbie and her team a little bit of background information in terms of that. So this is kind of the next step. I have got a PowerPoint slide which I will share with you on the screen today, but also I'll send around afterwards so as you can refer to that and click on some of the links that are in there, and I'll talk to you about steps as well. If you have got any questions, I'm conscious there's not huge amounts of people on the call, but if you have got any questions, if you pop them into the chat box at the side, so down at the bottom you'll see there's like a speech bubble. If you click on the speech bubble, then it will allow you to type a message on that right hand side of your screen, and if you type any questions in there, what I'll do is I'll deal with those questions sort of as we come through to them. Some of the questions you might have, I might know that I'm going to cover later on in the presentation, so I might not acknowledge them straight away, but I will get round to them. But what I will do is I'll periodically check and let people and let you know if I'm going to respond to it later or if I can answer it straight away. And what I can do then as well is make sure that the answers to those questions are typed up and are sent around with the PowerPoint slide afterwards. So as you have like a written sort of like a bit of an FAQs type thing that's coming up. So don't be afraid to ask any questions. There's no such thing as a silly questions. I know people say that all the time, but there genuinely isn't. As you might have guessed, my background is very much from healthcare, and my nursing associate experience is mostly to do with healthcare, with the GP, a little bit to do with primary care, so the GP sector, the voluntary sector, hospices, and charities, and charity-based sort of nursing home type things. So I'm very conscious that social care is not my bread and butter. I'm bringing the nursing associate experience that I have to that sector. So if you have questions that are related to that, I'll either answer them or I will, feed them back to whoever they might need to go to. They might need to go to Debbie, for example, for an answer. Some questions will be very bespoke to you and to your employer as well, so I will advise you if that's something you need to discuss with your employer. So thank you very much for joining us today, and I will hopefully share my screen in just a second. So I have now lost you guys. I can't see you guys because I can just see hopefully what you can see, which is on the screen, which is a PowerPoint sort of slide, which says Nursing Associate Apprenticeship on it. Hopefully, there we go. I should be able to click through that as well. So again, I'm going to give you some context and some detail around the Nursing Associate Apprenticeship, and I will hopefully covering some stuff that Debbie's already covered, but also be giving you some more detail around what the Nursing Associate programme is. So it was all born out of health education review in 2015 called The Shape of Care. And so 5 years later, we're now in a position where we have around 2,000 nursing associates qualified and working. They're registered with the NMC across England. The role does only exist in England at the minute. It hasn't been taken up by Wales and Scotland. So if you got a qualification as a nursing associate here in England, you would be able to work in Wales or Scotland, but you wouldn't necessarily get a role as a nursing associate because they aren't using it yet. We're in the discussion planning stages whenever obviously things all changed earlier on this year for us with COVID. So sort of at a glance, nursing associate, what is a nursing associate? It's a generic nursing role, and that is really key. So it's not child, adult, LD, learning disability or mental health specific. It's a generic role, and it sits in terms of where we have a sort of hierarchy. We have support workers, we have registered nurses, and we have nursing associates in the middle, bridging the gap between those two. However, we have had roles that have bridged the gap before in the past. Some of you might even sit in those roles or have heard of them or have worked in them in the past. So certainly we had the assistant practitioner role, and we still do have that role, which is a very valuable role in healthcare. The difference between that is that they're not registered with the NMC. So there are some limitations to the practice that they can deliver. So for us, that NMC registration is a really key part of the nursing associate role. And actually the term nursing associate is protected by law. So you cannot call yourself a nursing associate unless you have been and studied a programme which gives you the nursing associate qualification and registers you with the NMC. I have got a little video here, but because we have started a little bit later, I won't show the video, but obviously because I'm sharing the slides, you'll be able to click on that link and it will take you to that link on YouTube. But essentially it's a link of a few people who are on a nursing associate programme talking about their experiences so far. So overall, this is just a bit of a snapshot. I have to, the starting pay after training does relate to the NHS pay, and it doesn't relate to regional pay either. But as typically a nursing associate will be on a equivalent of a band 4 starting salary. They'll deliver hands-on care, and it's very much about being hands-on, and it's being really key linchpin of that delivery of care. So not necessarily, you know, wider assessment and things like that. It's very much about delivery of nursing care. We expect nursing associates to work in all ages in a variety of healthcare settings, and that includes health and social care. I certainly have got nursing associates who have qualified recently, working in all settings in adult care. I've got some working in school health nursing, in health visiting. We've got some working in children's hospices. So we've got a really wide range of settings, and that's just across Herefordshire and Worcestershire. Birmingham, the Black Country, Wolverhampton, and those areas will have even more because actually they're much more highly populated. So there's real range of opportunities that are out there. And for those of you who are taking the first steps and will be the first nursing associates in your clinical areas or your areas where you work, actually it's a really exciting opportunity for you to pave the way and to make the role what you want it to be as well, in conjunction with with your managers and with your employers. So this slide is out of date because it's from 2019, and it says there's just shy of 1,500 nursing associates registered with the NMC. It's just over 2,000 now. We've had a significant amount who have just qualified in sort of September, August, just gone. They started in September 2018. The training takes 2 years. It takes, if I'm honest, it takes just over 2 years, and that's because of the apprenticeship. We normally say 2 years and 3 months, and it's a real mixture of hands-on experience in your workplace, in other workplaces when you go on placements, and learning in the classroom. And again, you'll know this slide's slightly dated because the classroom is now virtual as well as a real life classroom. For our trainees who are starting on courses this September, a lot of their training has gone on to virtual, but where they do need clinical skills, there's some stuff where we absolutely do advocate hands-on learning. You will, at the end of this, if you were successful, get a foundation degree. So foundation degree is the only acceptable qualification for this. There are no other sort of equivalents. The NMC have said that everyone who qualifies must get a foundation degree. If you do it as an apprenticeship, you'll actually get 2 qualifications, because you will get a foundation degree, which is 240 credits at level 5, and you will get a level 5 higher apprenticeship. So you'll actually get 2 awards. And then what sort of things will you be expected to do? This varies greatly depending on where you're working and who you actually who your service users are that you work with, but you will be expected to undertake lots of clinical things. So maybe that might be blood pressure, dressing wounds, giving medication, communicating with patients, documentation. Some things that you will already do, but you will be doing under delegated authority. Now you will be doing it under your own authority. We see really wide range, and actually we're constantly being asked all the time, you know, what different skills can we train nursing associates to do? Because it's a new role, we're still finding that out ourselves. But yes, essentially lots and lots of hands-on clinical work. And in terms of progression, the foundation degree in nursing associate can act as a stepping stone towards going on to complete a full nursing degree. Whether that's through the funded route, through student finance, or whether that's doing it through an apprenticeship route, if that becomes available as well. Of the nursing associates who I have looked after so far, so on the first cohort there was just short of 70, 25 of those have gone on now to a nursing programme, with more keen to take that next step whenever the opportunities arise.
Ali, can I just interrupt there briefly?
Yeah.
It would appear, and I've noticed this too, we don't appear to have moved from the first slide in your presentation.
Oh no.
So I don't understand what's going on there.
Hold on, have you stopped seeing the screen now?
Yes.
Perfect. I will try again and see if that is sharing. Sorry, you haven't missed much. I'll put it up now.
Yes, yeah, we're on the 4th slide now. We can see that.
Perfect, thank you.
That's brilliant. I'll just mute myself now.
I'll let you know when I'm flicking forward, and if it doesn't do it again, just give me a shout, and I will improvise. I'm not quite sure what I'll do, but I'll improvise. Yes, so people can go on and progress. If you wanted, in terms of what that looks like, the foundation degree itself is 2 years. And for most of our nursing associates who go on to complete a nursing programme, they go in at the start of 2nd year. And the reason why I want to explain a little bit about this is because as a registered nurse, you have to specialise in either adult, mental health, child or learning disabilities. So a lot of people say, well, if the foundation degree is 2 years, why don't I just have to do a year to top up? But actually it's that specialisation, that's why it's 2 years to complete and become a nurse, a registered nurse, because actually you need that sort of extra year to bed into the speciality, to do the extra additional sort of scientific pharmacological knowledge that you need to work with that particular client group. So that's just what I get asked that question quite a lot. Why is it 2 years plus 2 years? So if you ever hear people talking about the 2+2 route, that's the 2+2 route. It's the 2 years of the foundation degree and then the 2 years as as registered nurse training. So I'm going to forward the slide now, and then please let me know if this changes. Have you got a new slide in front of you?
No, we still appear to be on slide 4.
Okay, that's fine. So the next, I might have to just do this sort of manually each time. So hopefully this next slide is just showing you around the qualifications and things like that. So again, information that Debbie will have covered with you. It's typically a 2-year programme. The 2-year programme is worked out in 2,300 programme hours. Don't worry what that means, but basically that's the amount of time you'll spend either in a classroom or on a placement and things like that. So you get a really good balance of theory and practice. And the things that you'll be measured against are the platforms that we measure all nursing associates against anywhere in the country that are doing the programme. And those platforms are being an accountable professional, promoting health and preventing ill health, providing and monitoring care, working in teams, improving safety and quality of care, and contributing to integrated care. And the next slide I'll show you, hopefully, will explain how that sits alongside what nurses, registered nurses do as well. And the real benefit to having nursing associates in the team is that additional capacity of nursing workforce. So you will see that there are some things that a nursing associate can do that a nurse can do as well. But actually, by freeing the nurse up to not do those activities anymore, you are allowing the nurse then to take on the things that only a nurse can do. So hopefully I'll just go through this sort of the manual way. I have skipped a slide there, but just because it's being quite clunky, that slide was just, it provided the link to the NMC standards. So you'll get that whenever I send that around. But you'll see that in pink and in green, there are the differences in the nursing associate and the registered nurse roles and those different things that they can, that they are expected to do and the things that they're not expected to do. So by being able to provide essentially the items that are in navy that are the same and the items that are in green, then that frees the registered nurse up to be able to do the things that are in pink on the other side of the the little table. So that means that they are much more involved in terms of care assessment, health planning, all that evaluation and the leadership and management as well. And you will play your part in that, but it means that the workload is spread more equally across the across both of the roles where they sit together. So apologies that this is just being a little bit clunky. It would appear we're all having quite a bad day with Teams. We might have to go back to Zoom the next time around. So the next slide then, just about accountability. Can you see a slide that says accountability on it? Or has it got to?
It's slide 8, accountability, yes.
Yeah, perfect, lovely. So accountability, the accountability piece of this is really, really key. And it's something that you will need to start to get your head around right from the start of this journey, and it's something we'll cover a lot because we're planning on doing more of these workshops, and it's something that the whole 2 years that you are studying, everything that you talk about, we will just be talking about your accountability as a registrant all the way through. So the sooner that we start to introduce that language to you, it might be something you're already really familiar with, and that's great. You just need to start thinking about it in terms of now your own personal accountability. So accountability, essentially, you will be NMC registered. I've already mentioned that. That means that as a nursing associate, you're accountable to your patients, to yourselves, to any registered nurses or allied health professionals who have delegated work to you. You're accountable to your employer to make sure that all of the care that you are delivering is of high quality, it's evidence-based, and that you are doing the right thing by your patients or by your service users at all times. So in terms of that accountability, what's really key with that is understanding how that difference, or how that is different from what your role might be at the minute. We will explore that with you over the next few weeks, and we will have there's lots of resources out there with regards to accountability. The Royal College of Nursing website is really really good source of information, as is the Nursing and Midwifery Council website as well. That's not to say that you're not accountable at the moment. You know, obviously we expect anyone who's working in healthcare to be accountable for their actions, but that the next level of accountability that you're talking about with regards to registration and regulation means that you're also accountable to the NMC. So should anything happen untoward, that you might be asked to present your case, and you might be asked questions of it at that regional and national level as well, which is something which currently doesn't happen with unregistered positions. So I have skipped forward through another slide again. Can you see that one? Maybe the system's working now.
I'm still on accountability, I'm afraid.
Okay, that's fine. I thought maybe it was working.
Here we are. Now we're on to about the apprenticeship.
About the apprenticeship, perfect. What might happen better actually is if I don't go into the screen, maybe if I just maximize this a little bit. It's not ideal, but you can still see the slides from that point of view, and hopefully I won't have to flick back and forth. So apologies for showing you in this sort of its raw form. So about the apprenticeship itself, it's approved against the NMC 2018 standards, that's national now. It's apprenticeship funding. I know that Debbie is having conversations with the managers around funding. I won't bore you with the details of it, but essentially it means that the employer pays, or an employer pays, for their employee to go on the programme. If you weren't funded in this way, the training would cost just over £18,000. So it is worth bearing in mind that actually, you know, if it's a really hopefully cost-effective way for you to be able to learn and to be able to access higher education without having to get a student loan. It's a work-based learning model, which means that unlike maybe if you've come across student nurses who are in your for placements and things like that, how student nurses learn is they tend to do a block in university, maybe say 10-12 weeks in university, and then they'll do a placement of 6, 8, 10 weeks out in a clinical setting. What we do with the Nursing Associate programme is we blend that, and we make it so as you do essentially 1, maybe 2 days of study per week, and then 3 or 4 days based on sort of a normal 7.5 hour days working model of study per week. Obviously that's flexible if you're working long shifts, if you work maybe 12-hour shifts or something like that. But that's what the model would look like, essentially 1, maybe 2 days at university and the rest of the time out on the job learning. And that's really key to apprenticeships. It's about making sure that you are having some theory, and then you for example, you learn that on Monday, and then you're applying it the rest of the week in the workplace, and you are just on that constant gradual journey. It's like going on one of those sort of travelator things, sort of gently upwards. You're constantly learning and applying, learning and applying, learning and applying. It's not the stepped model that we have with pre-registration nursing of blocks. And at the end of this, and this is what we allude to with the 2 years plus 3 months, you have got an endpoint assessment. So that's something that only happens to apprentices, and that is a piece of assessment that takes place in the workplace, where they will come out to your workplace and they will essentially have a professional discussion with you, watch you undertake some work, and assess you on that. If any of you have done perhaps NVQ qualifications in the past and are used to workplace assessors, it's not dissimilar to that programme, where you will be used to people coming out, not necessarily people who you work with, and people coming out and looking at you, watching what you do, asking you questions about it. You may be having to produce some written work on it as well. So that is the endpoint assessment. You can't do the endpoint assessment until you have already done all of the university level assessment. Once you've completed that, then you go on to the endpoint assessment, and that will be what gives you your final part of your qualification. So apologies, because I'm not sharing this properly, that the writing might be a little bit smaller for you. But like I said, I will share the slides. So on completion of the programme, a nursing associate will be able to demonstrate the clinical knowledge and care skills and behaviours identified under the 8 domains of nursing associate training programme. You'll be able to demonstrate safe and effective practice within the nursing associate parameters of practice. And again, we will send you the links to those. I think Debbie did talk about them on the last presentation. You'll be able to critically reflect on your own role and how that fits in with health and social care settings. You'll be able to demonstrate all the requirements that you need to in practice. So you will get a practice assessment document, which will have lots of competencies and skills, which you will need to learn over the 2 years and you'll be assessed as competent against. And you'll also have to maintain a portfolio. So that portfolio might be an e-portfolio. It's most likely to be an e-portfolio. It depends on which university you go to, supporting all of the evidence with the theory that you have learnt, and how you've developed that and linked that to the practice. And it's all about evidence-based healthcare. That's on top of, so all of this will be assessed via a range of methods, including exams, assignments, OSCE. So OSCEs are sort of like a controlled clinical setting. So you might have a mannequin, which you then have to undertake some assessments on using different skills. Presentations, you might have to develop posters and then present those posters to the group. Loads of different methods of assessment, as well as being assessed in the workplace. At this point, hopefully you're all taking a sharp intake of breath and going, oh, this is quite a lot of hard work. It is a lot of hard work. And I don't want you to be, I want you to come onto this programme very aware that this is going to be a very challenging but very rewarding 2 years whilst you're on this programme. But you do need to be aware of what you are signing up for. So the placements that you will go on, the NMC say that you must have placements in a range of healthcare settings. So for example, if you currently work in a nursing home, you will have to go to other areas to be able to get the wide range of skills that you need to become a nursing associate. And your placements will vary depending on which university you go to, but essentially it boils down to 11 to 12 weeks per year. Some of them will do it day release, so 1 day per week you'll go on a placement over the 52 weeks of the year. Some places will do a block of 5 and a block of 6. Some places will just do straight 11-week placements. You'll go to a variety of settings, and you do need to be aware that you might need to be prepared to travel across your region. So depending where you're based at the minute, you might have to go to a hospital, whether that's a community hospital, sorry, just close that. A community hospital, mental health settings, you might go to children's settings, you might go to respite care, you might go to surgical wards, outpatients, any number of places. But to get that really wide range of experience, you will have to go away from where you currently work at the minute. Assessment, apologies, I've skipped ahead of myself and I have already talked about assessment, but those are the types of assessments that will be required of you. So what now? What do you do with all that information, and what are the next steps for you? In the grand scheme of things, to be aware of where we are with intakes. The intakes that we know for definite are happening at the minute are a September intake next year with University of Worcester, an October and a February intake. They happen every year, every October, every February with the Open University. We are expecting University of Wolverhampton to offer us a spring intake, but we don't have any details on that yet. And BCU, a September intake next year, so Birmingham City University. What we will need to do is assess your qualifications and discuss with your manager whether you are going to go forward onto the programme, and we will support you with this programme, which I'll talk about in a second, to be able to take your next steps into in higher education. One of those next steps is going to be completing that programme with us. with myself and some of my colleagues who've been really embedded in the Nursing Associate programme for the last couple of years, to be able to prepare yourself for interview and for application. I'm going to pause for breath there. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to see if anyone's got any questions this far. I'm conscious there's only a couple of you here, so you might not have any questions yet.
I have a question, Ali.
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to get some clarity because my background is not nursing, it's absolutely not care. And so I'm coming from this from very much a customer service come admin background. I have been to university and I did mix occasionally with some nursing students. And so I'm aware of the need for specialism. It's a requirement by the well, the NMC and also the what's it called? The nursing organisation. I can't think what it's called. Is it just the NMC that requires?
Just the NMC, yeah.
But certainly to become a registered nurse. You mentioned about specialism and also the need to gain experience in a variety of settings. This takes place, I take it, over the 2-year course. Is that right, at the foundation, on the foundation degree? And if I've understood correctly, that would the first year require you to have a mix of the theory you learn in classroom and then go out into the wider community and have a variety of different placements to gain those broad range of specialisms, and the second year then you select one area of specialism? Is that right?
No, not quite. So the Nursing Associate programme is not specialised, so it is generalised.
Right.
And it's only if you go on to do registered nursing that you then specialise.
Oh, right, I see. That's where I was getting my wires crossed.
But it's a good point, because the placements, because you're not specialised. So I trained as an adult nurse, so it's easier sort of for me to explain it in my context. Mm-hmm. I trained as an adult nurse. So when I did my training, I never went on a placement anywhere except places where there were adults. I didn't get any exposure to mental health except for where there was someone who potentially had a mental health diagnosis alongside a physical health diagnosis who presented in an acute hospital setting. Now we've come to the realization that our patients don't really fit into those little boxes. You're not just a mental health patient, you're not just a child, you're not just a learning disabilities patient. You might tick 2 or 3 boxes. So there has been a real acknowledgement that that breadth of learning in the first place is really helpful. So that real having understanding of child, adult physiology, and some mental health conditions. So it's not real in depth in all of those things. It gives you a basis in a little bit of everything. But then if you wanted to go on and become a registered nurse, you would have to pick one of the specialities and study that specifically, if that makes sense.
That does. I'm going to mute myself now, and Casey had a question that came up in the that she's very kindly typed, but I'll unmute you there, Casey, so you can have a chat. Bear with me just 1 second.
Casey, did you have a question?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Perfect.
Yes. Now, I just wanted to clarify. So basically, the Nursing Associate program, is it similar or same as the foundation degree in nursing? Is that the same thing?
Yeah. So the foundation degree in nursing doesn't exist as a standalone qualification anymore. It's a route into nursing.
Right.
But the foundation degree Nursing Associate, it's a route into nursing, but it's also a standalone qualification. So you can take it and get a job afterwards. Whereas the foundation degree nursing, unless you stayed and did the full 4 years, you wouldn't get the registration.
Okay.
So yeah.
So now, you know, we're doing all this. The West Midland Care Association is helping us get ready, you know, to get on the program, the nursing associate program. So after that, if you wanted to go on further and then choose like one of the specialties, you know, is that like a straight pathway to doing those? Because like some of the, you know, staff members, their interest as well in the course is born out of, oh, after all of this, or I'm now on a journey to become a nurse, so I can be a proper nurse. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's definitely a step in the right direction. Probably from my point of view, I would say that there are some, it's not straightforward in terms of funding.
Right.
The funding is there for the nursing associate program. That's not an issue,
Right.
and your employer will support you through that as an apprentice.
Right.
It's not just as clear as that for if you wanted to go on and become a nurse. So
Right.
that might be that they decide they want to then go down the traditional university route and get a student loan and do it full time. They'd only have to do it for 2 years as opposed to 3 years, so that the costs are reduced a little bit, but I appreciate there's still a lot of costs involved there.
Right.
By the time we've got to the end of this apprenticeship, it might be that the funding is much clearer for what it's going to be for the registered nurses.
Right.
So it's just not 100% as simple as your employer paying for it at the moment to go on.
Okay.
But
So,
the option might well be there. But you're
Okay.
you're definitely stepping in the right direction.
Okay. So if you got the foundation degree, the nursing associate program qualification, and then let's say you could afford it yourself, can you enroll in a uni to now do the proper nursing? But then you do it for 2 years because you have this qualification in the bag.
Yeah, so again, an example that's happened in my organisation at the minute is I have got 2 learners who just qualified in August this year, and they have stepped into year 2 of the mental health nursing programme in September.
Right.
But they've self-funded that because they have they've been able to get a student loan, and they are doing a 2-year programme instead of a 3-year programme. And so things are reduced and it's a little bit more cost effective for them.
Okay.
Brilliant. So I'll go on with it. I appreciate there's only a couple of us here, so there's probably not that many questions. So I'll go on with the next sort of little part of the presentation. And I will try sharing my slides again. So just bear with me for a second. So again, I'm just doing this. So this presentation is going to be a lot quicker than it was, because normally what I was expecting is when I put this slide up, and this is why I break for questions just before this slide, when I put this slide up, I am just bombarded with questions. So I will be able to probably take those questions maybe via email if they're able to come in consolidated via Debbie or something like that. Then I'll be able to take those questions and reply to them whenever we share this out. But our next stages is kind of the exciting part, and that's kind of the bit that going forward from today, we will be able to make real headway on. So what we are going to do is I'm working with Debbie, and we're having this a programme which is going to be called Aspiring to Care. And it's there's going to be 2 cohorts. And what that is going to do, it's going to be a fixed programme of learning and work. Excuse me, I just need to take a drink. Sorry, it's going to be a fixed programme of workbook and sort of these engaged sessions via Microsoft Teams or Zoom or something, where we will deliver to you a programme which will get you what we call university ready. So I appreciate some people who are coming onto the programme might well have studied at university before and are now, you know, are thinking about a different career path or something like that. Some people might never have been to university before. Some people might not have even considered that university was going to be an option for them. And this programme is really about making sure that we give you the best opportunity possible to be able to apply and be successful whenever you have that interview with the university. So what the programme is like is Debbie and myself have discussed that there's going to be sort of two cohorts of people. There are going to be a cohort of people who are ready to go for sort of spring next year, and another cohort who we will prepare for September next year. Because I appreciate that your employers might not be able to release everyone all at once. If you're an employer and you've got 5 people who are interested, you might not be able to release your 5 staff all at once, so you might need to stagger them. Some people, spring's very soon, you might not be mentally prepared for starting university in spring, and some people September's traditional, isn't it? So you might just have September in your head. And some people might just want a little bit longer to prepare. So we're going to sort people out into those cohorts. There are a number of things which we will need to achieve, including the entry qualifications to get onto the programme. Namely, the entry qualifications are maths and English at level 2, which is equivalent to a GCSE grade C, or on the new banding system, which is numbers, it's GCSE grades 4 to 9. So that's in maths and English, and that is absolute. There are no discussions around that. So if people have got the maths and English qualifications, then that's great. But if not, we can work with people, and Debbie will be liaising with people to get people onto maths and English qualifications. So if you don't have the qualifications, don't panic. We will be able to support you to get those qualifications. However, what I will say is that if you don't have the qualifications, we're definitely aiming towards September next year for you to get onto those programs, because if you think about it, obviously you've got a qualification, tuition, learning and exams all to get through. So that's quite a big ask of someone, especially over sort of November, winter pressures, Christmas, all that really busy time of the year. So we want you to succeed, and the best way to get you to succeed is to give you ample time. We don't want to put you under unnecessary pressure. So we'll be working with you to get those qualifications ready for applications to start next September. We will also be doing some assessment with you, and some of that is going to be self-assessment, some of that is going to be computer-generated assessments. There'll be lots of assessments, and the reason why is because we need you to be really careful and really sure of yourself that you're going forward for the right programme at the right time. So we will be getting you to do these assessments, and then those assessments will build into other activities that you will be doing in a workbook, which we're going to supply you with, that will then build you an action plan. And you will have a very targeted, very personal action plan that will give you what you need to do in a fixed time frame. So whether that's 2 months, 6 months, 12 months, to be able to go forward and have your successful application at your chosen university. We will support you with the application process, so whether that's writing personal statements and being able to identify the right information that the universities want to see on your applications, and we will also support you with your interview. So we will make sure that by the time you are going for your interview with your chosen university or universities, you might want to apply to a couple, that you are absolutely going to be the best candidate that they see that day, and that they are rubbing their hands, coming away going, we can't wait for that person to start on the programme. We're so excited. They've really prepared really well, and they are really in a good place to become a nursing associate. This cohort or this programme that we're putting together, it's not an attendance programme. It's not sitting and looking at me or looking at my poorly constructed PowerPoints, because PowerPoint's not working on a Microsoft Teams for me today. It's not just sitting there and observing or listening. It is 100% interactive, and you will only be successful at application and interview if you are interactive with us whilst you are on the programme. So that includes undertaking the assessments that are required. It will require doing some work in your own time. And the reason why we make it like this is because you will be doing work in your own time whenever you become a nursing associate student. So it's all part of building you up, getting you ready, making sure that you are what we call HE ready, higher education ready. So some of the assessments that we will get you to do, and I will discuss with Debbie where we want to go with this, because the plan was that we were going to sort of hand these assessments out at the end of today and get those round to everybody. But I'm conscious that that's a lot for everyone to take in. So taking in this information, watching this video and things like that. So I'll discuss that with Debbie next week. But there's going to be 2 key assessments that you need to do initially. The one
Ali, just before you continue, I'm mindful Casey asked a very important question about maths and English, and I didn't want you to plough ahead.
Oh yeah, sorry, I can't see the questions, they come up.
Casey, are you able to unmute your microphone?
Yes, Ali, I asked the question. The question is, do we have to source the English and maths courses ourselves and then pay for it ourselves?
No.
Okay.
So the maths and English, it will be funded if as long as you are someone who is in not full-time employment, in employment, and you have not previously achieved GCSE English or maths or level 2 functional skills English and maths, then the funding is there to support you to do it. If you have done English and maths and you have lost your certificates, then unfortunately that is something you're going to have to sort out yourself. So whether that's buying new paying the exam board for new certificates, and I've had experience of this, it can be quite expensive. Those pieces of paper are sometimes £50 to get certificates redone. It's ludicrous, but it's what it is.
The case with majority of us in health and social care is that most of us are foreign born. So we've done English and maths from where we've come from or years ago. I mean, like, I'm 50 now, and when I did my GCE level, I was 16. So that's ages ago. I've got the certificates, but obviously Debbie's told us that it's not valid. So I have to do them again, so that's what.
Yeah, that's fine. If it's classed as not being valid because it's because it's a long time ago or it's an overseas qualification, then that's fine. You won't have to pay for it.
Okay.
Yeah. The only ones we have to pay for, or people would have to pay for, is essentially if they've done it in this country, it would have been valid, but they've not got the evidence of it.
Okay. Right. And then, so are we going to go with yourselves for the English and maths as well, or is this something we have to do somewhere else?
So that's so again, I'll be discussing that with Debbie, but there's lots of local different options available. So I don't teach that. We don't teach that in our organisation, but we've got lots of options for you to be able to apply to, including like local colleges. I think one of the things that we were looking at was actually getting one of the local colleges in to offer it to all of you at once.
Okay.
Which might be more effective,
yeah.
But I'm conscious that some people want to go to college, some people want to do it online, but there's lots of different options available at the minute.
All right, thank you.
What we offer is training to get you ready for that. So for example, we offer you lots of online resources. So for example, I did my GCSEs a few years ago, and if someone asked me to do fractions now, I'd probably be a bit rusty. I've got the qualification, but I don't know if my long division's very good.
Yeah.
So we've got lots of resources for people to be able to refresh their skills. So as when you start on the programme, you're not starting from scratch. You're not going, oh my goodness, it's been 20 years since I've done this. I can't remember how to do long division. When you go to the course, you're actually just going, yep, this is just a refresher. I'm practicing for my exam. I'm raring to go.
Right.
And I will share those links with you. So I think I'll go back to sharing. Yeah, apologies. Simon, please feel free to interrupt me if questions go up on the side as well, because when I share my screen, I can only see the screen. I can't see any questions.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Ali.
So the two next stages are going to be a care certificate self-assessment, and you may have already done this. I'm assuming most of you have your care certificate already. The care certificate is a prerequisite to get onto the programme. And what we ask people to do is to do the care certificate self-assessment. If you've been in social care or healthcare for a little while and you did it when it came out new, it might actually be 5-6 years since you did it. So what we're asking people to do is to redo the self-assessment and identify areas where they might need to refresh their learning. This means that then we can really target the learning that we provide to you to make sure that you are up to scratch, because those are the sorts of questions, again, you'll be asked at interview and you'll be asked at application forms. Even though you might be doing care every single day, it's important that you're able to sort of identify things that you need to constantly be updating yourself on, and by making sure that you are at that right base level, then again, we know that you're at the right level whenever we go in or when the university go in and start delivering that information for the next level up. The other thing we'll ask you to do, and we'll share this link with you today, is the Essentials of Numeracy. So the Essentials of Numeracy is a maths assessment, which you go on, and it takes a little while to do. It probably takes between 30 minutes to an hour to do the full assessment. You can do it in chunks, so you can do a little bit, you can go away, you can come back to it again. But the idea is to get a baseline of where you are with your numeracy skills at the moment. Following that assessment, you will then receive a tailored package of online information and resources that you can use. So it's broken down into different sections like percentages, fractions, decimals. I can't remember what the other. I think it's broken down into 4 sections. I can't remember what the other one is. And what you'll get is you will get a graph that shows you where you're strong and where you need to build your knowledge base with regards to numeracy. You will then be able to go back at any stage that you want and revisit those resources and be able to build that knowledge in your own time. But what we ask you to do in the first instance is do that maths assessment to see where you are at. What that will do is give us a baseline then for your, and I've said 8 weeks here, but Debbie and I have discussed this back and forth. We might have to be flexible with the 8 weeks depending on time frames that we're working towards, but we will then be able to support the programme to be able to get you HE ready to apply for university. We'll also provide you with information on your university options, because you will have some decisions to make. We won't make the decision for you about which university you go to. You've got to make that decision yourself. So what we will do is we will get information on all of those universities, including start dates, to decide which university you would be best suited for, as well as the care certificate and maths and English GCSE being essential requirements for all universities. Other universities do have some additional requirements that they might ask of you. So when we explore the different universities themselves, we will explore what those different requirements are. That might mean that you are precluded from some universities because you might not have those particular qualifications that they are asking for. But we will support you with the basics, which are the care certificate and the essentials of numeracy. If anyone does not have the care certificate, again, we can support people with achieving the care certificate, but we are making sure if that's the case, then you will definitely be starting in September, or looking to start in September next year. We wouldn't be able to do that in quite a short time frame. So the last slide from me is a couple of places where it's really helpful for you to be able to go in and have a look at in the first early days, and will help you build. Some of these things might be actions that you want to put into your action plan, and we will talk about action planning with you whenever we meet again. And some of them might be things that you want to look on in advance. The Worcestershire Numeracy Challenge is on there. So the Worcestershire Numeracy Challenge, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this screen if I share it. No, it's not coming up for me, sorry. But the Worcestershire Numeracy Challenge, again, it's guided online tuition. It doesn't get you the qualification, the level 2 qualification that you need, but it gives you the tuition that you would need to achieve that. So then all we need to do is source you an exam. The English skills for learning, so the second one, is really just for people who've got English qualifications but need to refresh their skills, because actually it's been a long time since they've written an assignment or an academic piece of work. We've got level 1 and 2 English and maths tuition, again available via different resource, so that's via the third link, sorry, and that's via the Open University. Again, it doesn't get you the qualification, but it gives you the resources to be able to practice. So then we just need you to sit the exam. And we also have a resource at the bottom there that's just for study skills. So that's with the Open University, and that's really about preparing yourself for higher education. And again, I will stop sharing and reshare a screen in a second. So hopefully now you should be able to see Open University screen. And to give you an idea of some of the things that are on that skills for study session, we've got courses, and these are all free, by the way. We've got courses such as taking your first steps into higher education. So again, if you've never been to university before, that's a really good one to sort of give you an idea of what is going to be asked of you. The one that's next to it, called Learning to Learn, that's one that is really important for you, again, to learn about your own learning styles. So, you know, how do you prefer to learn? How do you like to engage? Because it's only when you start to know what you like and what you work well with that you'll be able to go to sort of harness that and then apply that to your learning, both in this programme, but also more importantly for the higher education programme going forth. There's absolutely buckets in terms of study skills in here. So some of them, I mean, some of them aren't necessarily useful. So getting used to classical Latin probably isn't something you're going to need. But other things such as preparing for assessments, distance learning, planning and academic theory and things like that. Those are all things that are all quite useful. And I would really, really recommend, even if you don't need any of the other stuff, English and maths, for example, that you definitely have a look at these resources. They're going to be really valuable. So I'll stop sharing my screen now. And I've just checked the chat box. I can't see that there's any more questions have come in. Again, I have probably erred on the side of caution with regards to time, because I was expecting sort of 10 to 15 people asking lots and lots of questions, and I don't quite have that. So if there is anyone that's on the call who's got any questions, if not, what might be slightly better is actually if we end the session a little bit earlier than planned, but we get those resources out to you nice and promptly, and then we go from there, because I'm assuming then they can be shared with the people who weren't able to join us today, along with the video.
One question that I do have there, Ali, that was asked by somebody I was speaking to, a care provider, was around placements. How does that work? How is that organised?
Good question. It's normally organised in conjunction with the employer and the university. So that's probably slightly frustrating in that there's no clear answer to that. And what we would normally do, and what has worked so far quite well in the Black Country and in Hereford and Worcester, is that we do reciprocal placements. So, for example, you might have someone who's working in a surgical ward in Birmingham Hospital, and you are working in a nursing home in Birmingham. And actually, the nursing associate on that surgical ward comes to your nursing home for a placement, and you go to that apprentice's surgical ward for a placement. So we sort of do swaps with each other. So that has worked really well so far. And I don't know whether that's been because of the smaller numbers. So when you think about a student nurse programme, I used to work at BCU, and we used to have about 500 to 600 people start on each course, and absolutely huge numbers. When we're dealing with the nursing associate programme, we tend to be dealing with much smaller numbers in the region of sort of 20 to 50. So it's really manageable to be able to manage those swaps around. We also ask, we have got people to engage with their with local service provision. So for example, if you're a nursing home and you have district nurses who come in to provide some services or to visit some of your patients, or specialist nurses or GPs, then we do some reciprocal placements with those. So we call them spoke day placements, and they're just days, a day or two here and there, where people go and have those learning experiences with those particular people.
Right. That's very useful. Thank you. Casey, did you have any further questions?
Yes, just one last question. The you know, the maths and English, let's say, right? Does it have to be like accredited by anybody or something? Or so let's say there are lots of English and maths numeracy and literacy courses online. You know, some will tell you it's like £20, whatever. Is there any like kite mark or something that will say you got this from a certified body?
Yeah. So it's got to be classed as functional skills level 2, and as far as I know, that is it should come with like an Ofqual. It should be verified by Ofqual. Okay,
functional skills level 2.
Yeah. So so there are unscrupulous companies out there. I just a question to ask. There are very unscrupulous companies out there who will take your money off you and not give you the correct qualification. One of the things to avoid is anything classed as key skills. Right. So they will often call something key skills level 2, but key skills level 2 is not functional skills. Okay. And that's caught me out, because I've been looking back in the early days. I was looking at someone's qualifications, and I was seeing if they were able to go onto the programme, and I see key skills level 2, and I thought, oh, that's level 2, so that must be right. And then the university stepped in and said, no, it wasn't equivalent.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's fine. So so are we going to have another link or another session like this soon?
Yeah, so I believe Debbie's actually on annual leave this week, so I'm catching up with Debbie early next week to see where we're going forward with this. But essentially what we'll do is everybody who wants to progress with the programme, we will sort of split them into 2 cohorts, those that have got maths and English and are ready to go forward, and those that need their maths and English, and then we will work with them to get them enrolled onto a programme, and then we will deliver the rest of the programme a few days or a few weeks after they've got their maths and English qualifications.
Okay, all right, that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
That's all right.
Okay.
So yeah, I appreciate I've probably gone on for quite some time now.
No, you've done a great job given the circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been terribly frustrating today, hasn't it? For some reason, it's been very all or none. Never mind. At least we've got a recording that people can look at who weren't able to attend today. And apologies for those people who weren't able to make it today for reasons that are inexplicable to me. Shall we bring this to a close now? I'll stop the recording. Ali, if I could ask you to stay on the call, because I wouldn't mind just having a 5-10 minute chat with you. And in the interim, if I ask everybody to head off by clicking on the leave button at the top right of the screen, please.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks you. Nice to meet you.